What do Scribe, Canva, and Adobe Express have in common? They all help us do one thing better: make clear, concise, short instructions for tech tips. In this episode, I chat with Courtney Watson from friEdTechnology about building bite-sized directions for tech tools so students and teachers can learn how to do something on their computer and learn it quickly. Plus, I've got some updates on new features in BookCreator, Padlet, and NotebookLM. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast with Jake Miller.
Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. It is May 29th of 2025. I cannot believe I'm saying that. It makes me feel really old. It makes me feel like I might be in Back to the Future 4 or something like that. 2025 and the school year, for most of us, at least those of us in the States, is about to end or just ended. It is bonkers crazy. And I don't know about you guys, but my time lately has been bonkers crazy busy with end of the school year stuff going on. So I appreciate during this busy time that you're still tuning in, you're still listening. It's about to be summertime for most of you, and you are still learning so that you can do awesome things for the learners that come through your schools and classrooms. Thank you so much for doing that. Speaking of being really busy, most of you probably know that last week I didn't air a regular episode as I normally would. Last week was supposed to be an updates and soapbox episode. Couldn't quite get one out in time. So what I did was I aired an appearance I had on the State of Ed podcast about a month back, was the original episode of that. And then last week aired it here on the feed. I hope you listened. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed talking to Nick and Mark on that episode. Really great questions and thinking and discussion, and I had a great time. So I hope you enjoyed listening. I do hope to be back next week with a soapbox and updates episode, like I was supposed to have done last week. Today we've got a guest, the awesome Courtney Watson, and some tech updates. And next week we will have a soapbox moment, I hope, and some updates as well. Be sure to subscribe to the show in whatever app you prefer. Be sure to share it with friends, and be sure to plug me in your headphones and take me to the beach or the campgrounds or the pool or the hiking trails or the baseball fields or wherever you're going this summer. Take me along with you in your ears, because I will keep the show going for most of the summer. I'll take a little break in the middle of the summer, I think. But by then you'll be an episode behind or something like that because something came up and you won't even notice that I took a week off. So stay subscribed so you don't miss any of those episodes that come up over the summer, because I'm going to keep coming to you. There's lots of stuff to talk about, and I have lots of information to share and lots of support I want to provide. So I'm going to keep on keeping on with the show. Speaking of keep on keeping on, let's keep on keeping on with today's episode and jump into today's interview with the awesome Courtney Watson. Today's guest is Courtney Watson. Courtney is a Google Certified Educator and Trainer and lead learning guide at friEdTechnology. She is passionate about equipping all learners with the necessary tools to help them become successful and ensuring they have fun while learning. And you could find her on social media at Tech Without Tears on TikTok, or search for her content on the other social medias with the hashtag Tech Without Tears, or on other platforms including X and Blue Sky and LinkedIn. You could find her at CM Watson 2010. All of that will be in the show notes, but more importantly than what's in the show notes is what's in the podcast. It's actually Courtney. What's up, Courtney? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so excited to be here.
I am doing great. I'm glad to have you on. You and I have known each other, ran into each other at conferences for, 5 or 6 years, maybe.
Probably.
So it's great to see to connect and finally have you on the podcast.
I finally made it.
Yeah, finally made it. This is the season of friEdTechnology, because you are, I think, the third friEdTech person to be on the podcast. That's when you know you've got an amazing team, right?
Hey, I'll take it.
You guys
I love those girls.
Yeah, you guys are doing the stuff over there. Don't leave Daryl out. You love those girls.
Yeah, you're right. And Daryl. You're right. Don't forget about Daryl.
Those girls and Daryl. But you guys are doing great stuff over there. How long have you been with friEdTech?
This is year 4.
Year 4.
Yeah,
nice.
Coming up on my anniversary in June.
Okay, nice. Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
By the time this is airing, it's almost anniversary week. I hope they all have a big celebration for you. There's a whole countdown.
I'll make sure I send that to Boss Amy and tell her that.
Boss Amy, Jake says we need a 4th anniversary celebration. Buy me a car.
Yes, there we go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I will take a Land Rover, please. Okay, so now that we're giggling and goofing around about your cars, we're going to giggle and goof around a little bit more with a game. Courtney, are you up for a game?
Sure, I love games.
Nice. Okay, we're going to start with a game of 2 truths and 1 lie.
2 truths and 1 lie.
As listeners to the show know, you will give me 3 statements. I will get confused about what I have guessed and what I have not guessed. I'll get it wrong. I'll not realize I've gotten it wrong. I'll botch the game in all sorts of ways. But I'll tell you what, it's definitely going to be smoother than when your friend Chantel was on from friEdTechnology. I don't know if you've listened, but Chantel told me 2 lies.
Right.
1 truth, I guess.
Not on purpose, but yes.
I think she said that she had driven herself to Florida, but she meant to say California or something like that. I don't even know. I was like, how did you mix up the state? She's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you'll beat Chantel for sure. But Chantel had so much wisdom to share in the episode, so we give her a free pass on that one. Okay, are you ready with your statements?
I am ready.
All right, here we go.
All right. So I went with, because this was, it's hard to get down to these. And so I'm like, what can I say on a podcast? And it won't be. Anyway, so
Okay.
Here's what we decided on. One of my current coworkers served me drinks, aka was my bartender, at Cheddar's in Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
My dog, cute black Cocker Spaniel, is named after a famous luxury brand, Chanel, because I'm so obsessed with the brand.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to go with, I started my teaching career at the same school that I attended middle school with the same principal and many of my same teachers.
Wow. That would be impressive because I feel like middle school principals, they're like, after 5 years, they're like, I'm out.
Yes, done for.
I'm out. I'm done. I had a Cocker Spaniel growing up, and he was all black. His name was Black Star. He was the best dog. No, I don't tell him my current dog that Black Star was the best dog. I just have such fond memories of Black Star as a puppy. They're like shaggy ears and everything on Cocker Spaniel.
Curly, super cute.
Okay.
If I had one.
If you maybe do, who knows? My guess is that the last one is a lie. You might have worked at the same middle school, but there's no way the principal was still there.
Alrighty, and that would be incorrect.
Oh, no way.
Indeed, Mr. Hardiman was my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade principal, and then he actually hired me for my first teaching job back in 2002.
Wow. Do you know how long he was principal there?
Oh, golly. Oh, more than 15 years.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. And then what did you teach middle school?
English and reading.
Nice. Okay. All right. And
all things words and dyslexia and read 180. That's always my introduction.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's not the lie.
Not the lie.
But we learned a little bit about Courtney, so that's good. That was beneficial. I don't think your dog is a Cocker Spaniel. I think I'm going to go extra specific for this is bonus points if I guess the correct breed.
Okay.
I think it's a Pomeranian.
All righty. So no. I do have a Cocker Spaniel.
Okay.
He is black.
Okay.
But his name is not Chanel.
Oh, okay.
His name is Louis V.
Okay. Another luxury brand.
And that piece was the lie. And the reason I love it is because the story behind it is my husband thinks he's very clever. And so for my birthday, Louis just turned 3. So for 3 years ago, my birthday's in April, we had been to the Louis Vuitton store. My husband saw a purse that he liked. Yeah, saw a purse that he said something about it first.
Okay.
A little bit of time goes by. He said, oh yeah, I ran into so-and-so in Market Street at Louis Vuitton. And in the back of my head, I'd hear the rest of that story. I'm like, oh, he went back to the store. I'm getting my purse.
Okay.
And he had to go out and pick it up. We did brunch that day. And then he had to go pick up my gift, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came back home and he walked in the door and I'm looking for my little gold bag. And he walks in holding a little Cocker Spaniel. I said, what's that? And he's like, it's your birthday gift. And a black Cocker Spaniel, like the black purse I thought I was getting. His name is Louis V. Thank you.
Not the right Louis V.
Yeah. I did get my purse by Christmas that year.
I thank you. That was my next
to save the husband. But, and also I do love that. I mean, I love Louis more than probably most people. You know,
sure.
Like dogs have that way of converting you.
So much better than a purse. I would prefer to have a Cocker Spaniel over a purse for sure.
Here's what should have happened.
Okay.
Get the dog, put him in the purse. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Now that's a gift right there. All husbands right now are taking notes like, okay, all right. I will do that. Now, when he's in trouble, do you call him Louis?
No, but he does get his full name.
He gets his full name.
He gets Louis V. Watson.
Louis V. Watson. That's his middle initial. I love that his full name isn't Vuitton, Louis Vuitton. No. It's Louis V.
Yep.
That's awesome. He sounds adorable. And what was the first one? What was the one I missed?
That was my current coworker served me drinks. That was my bartender.
Yeah. Who's that?
And that's Amy.
No way.
So that's why I always say Boss Amy, because I call Amy Storrs my work wife.
Work wife,
so
okay.
Boss Amy and wife Amy. But yeah, so Amy and I are from the same area. It's a smaller area. We're kind of like southeast of Houston.
Okay.
But at any rate, we graduated high school around at the same year.
Okay.
She worked at Cheddar's. I lived in Beaumont. Like I said, I taught there for my first 6 years, and we went to Cheddar's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that it has to be true that she was my bartender because she worked there with her twin sister for several years. So yeah.
I'm not sure if I've been to a Cheddar's in Texas or not before. I'm trying to remember if I've ever been there.
Yes.
I definitely never had Amy as a bartender. I think I would know because I wasn't going there before she was doing the whole friEdTechnology thing.
Right.
So if I walked in and friEdTech Amy was back there behind the bar pouring me my tall draft, I'd be like, what?
What are you doing here?
That would be my 2 truths and 1 lie statement for sure right there. That's amazing. That's fun. Yeah, crazy. Okay. All right. So now that we know who at friEdTechnology is a former bartender and the name of your dog and all of these super important things, we're going to get into some actual educational technology, which I like to think is what the listeners tune in for. They might be tuning in to hear the guests play the game. I'm not sure. Or me mess up the game and get it wrong. Those might be the things they're listening
to.
Possibility, yes. But we're going to do what's called an educational duct tape question. And for the listeners that are just here to hear about Courtney's dog, I've got to explain to them what an educational duct tape question is. It is a question that an educator might ask in order to solve a goal or address a need in their classroom or solve a problem in their classroom or address a learning standard. They have a question and technology is the answer to that question. Technology is the tool that supports them in doing that. It's not always the answer, but in these situations, it is the answer. So this one that I'm going to ask you, Courtney, is a bit of a throwback because this is kind of how I got my start in educational technology. I was involved in presenting a little bit locally and at my school and stuff like that. But what kind of started me on a path to podcasting and stuff like that was I used to make little GIFs and post them on social media. I called them EduGIFs. And they were just like 30 to 40 second clips of like, this is how you, share a file in Google Drive, right? Because that was the kind of things we had to share about back then. So I always called those bite-sized instructions. I liked that somebody didn't have to watch a 10-minute or 20-minute long video to learn something. They saw it in like 40 seconds. So I've always liked bite-sized instructions like that. So if you were sharing maybe with your colleagues or something like that, here's how you use Snorkel, or here's how you use the new features in Google Slides, or here's how you use a Canva spreadsheet because they've got those now.
Exciting, right?
And you want to go like, here's a 1-minute instructions for you. How are you sharing those 1-minute instructions?
So a couple different ways, but the first way that comes to mind, probably one of my favorites, is Scribe.
Aha, okay. I'm glad you brought this one up because I have seen Scribe around, but I haven't used Scribe. So I'm really interested to hear you talk about them.
So, and similar to the way you said you were making your EduGIFs, I was doing the same thing. I was that person. I wasn't just like, it's not like I knew any kind of magic. I just didn't mind clicking around and trying things out. So people would always come and ask me questions. Mm-hmm. And so how do you? And so I'm like, you know what? Instead of me having to go and show this every single time, I would open up Google Slides and then open up, if I was showing them how to sign into Canvas, let's say. Mm-hmm. I'm going to open Canvas, take a screenshot, paste it over into Google Slides, add a text box, type in the instructions, and then rinse and repeat, right? It would take... Again, not a long time because I didn't mind it. Like, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how long. But I made so many of those little tutorials. Yeah. And so that's where Scribe comes in and it wows people's brains, especially if they have to do something like that. If you're in charge of sharing things with, whether it's teachers or students, what I used to do in 30 minutes or an hour, you can do in Scribe literally less than a minute or two. Yeah. So you open whatever I want to show. I said I was going to show you how to sign into Canvas. Okay. Let's say that because that was our LMS. You open that up. Scribe is a Chrome extension.
Yeah.
So you click on Scribe. It lives right beside you now. It just opens up in a little sidebar and you click record. And then you just go through your steps. You don't have to talk. By default, I talk out loud to myself. I'm an only child. It's just what I do. But you don't have to say anything.
Here you go, Courtney. You're going to click over here, Courtney. And go ahead and type it in right there, Courtney. Right.
Exactly. But yeah. So it's like you click here. You open this. So... But as you are clicking, Scribe is just recording what you're doing. And so you just go through the 5, 6, 10, 12 steps and then click end. And it's going to open up a Google document that has screenshots and written instructions, little highlighted pieces on. If you clicked on file, it's going to have a little circle highlighting file. You can edit the instructions if you need to, or you can leave them as is. I use the free version. Let me go ahead and throw that out there. It is one of those freemium options, but I've only ever used the free version. And the one limit for us that we found with the free version is you cannot edit the images that it takes. But if one of the steps you don't need, I can hit delete. That's totally fine. Like I said, you can edit those instructions. At the top, it'll even tell you how long it took you. 12 clicks, 34 seconds to make this. And then you get a share link, and then you can share that out. Or you can embed it anywhere. So like, again, if you use the LMS, if you're making instructions for students or whatnot, you can embed it on a page in your LMS too.
Now, does that share as a Google Doc then? Is it a doc or is it like on their website?
It lives on a little page. It lives on a little page. I say it opens in a Google Doc. I guess it's not technically a Google Doc.
But it has that feel. Okay. So here's what I really like about that. So I like to say when I created these GIFs back in the day, it probably was very similar to your process with creating those Google slideshows that had the screenshots and stuff. It reminds me of this quote that I used to quote that came from Mark Twain. And he said something to the effect of, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, right? Because doing something that's shorter and clearer and concise takes a lot of time to make happen, right? So when I used to make my GIFs, I used Camtasia for them. I would spend an hour, maybe more per GIF for something that people were going to watch for 40 seconds. Because if I had tried to make it in 40 seconds, it would have been garbage, right? So I had to take a long time to really go through and editing it. The same thing happens, I'm sure, with your slideshow. You wanted to create something that was really clear, concise, short, succinct. So it took you a long time to go, okay, I need this screenshot and how do I write these words to describe this so it's as short as possible? How do I make this as clear as possible? The alternative back in the day was recording like a Screencastify video, which is a great tool, but you're doing that, you're like talking as you go through it. And like, I'm going to click over here. Hold on, let me wait for that to load. It'll load right up here in a second. It's going to be right here in a second. You end up with like a 10-minute long video for something that could have been 2 minutes because that was just how long it took you to do it. So now this tool, maybe it takes you 5 or 10 minutes to go through that login process, but it goes like, here are the important pieces and parts. It uses like AI to do that for you, which is what I was doing with Camtasia and what you were doing with your slideshows, but we were doing it manually. So it makes this really short, clear, concise thing in the time that it takes you to go through the process. Now, the difference is when I was using Camtasia, for example, to make those GIFs back in the day, it would take me 5 to 10 minutes to record the thing and then 45 to 50 to edit it, right?
Yep.
So that's what I'm doing is I'm spending that 5 or 10 minutes recording, but I'm no longer doing the editing because Scribe is doing that part for me. Would you agree that's kind of how it's working?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just, I get a little happy feeling in my heart when I think about it and when I share it with people because just like, the time that it would take to make it happen. And you just went like, click, 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 click. Ta-da!
Like, here it is. And they're like, Courtney, you're a genius. And you're like, I know. I am.
You're welcome.
That's amazing. This reminds me of, I think it's pronounced iorad. Have you used iorad before?
That's another one that we like. In iorad, we used before Scribe. We got that one from Daryl. And the difference, I think, I say difference, but it doesn't make it better. But iorad, you can make it like video. So you can do that voice piece with it if you want to. So it's another good one. It works very similarly as you just kind of go about the process of what you would normally do. And it's just kind of recording your screen as you're making those things happen.
Yeah. What I like about iorad is that you can, if I remember correctly, once you're done, the viewer can look at it in a couple different ways, right? They could go through like a clickable, it's called kind of like a slideshow tutorial. It's not truly slides, but you click the next arrow to get to the next step, or see it all in one, or see it kind of as a video, right?
Yeah, you're right. I had forgotten about that version where you can, you have to do the steps.
Yeah.
So it's like in my instructions, if I was going to say, click file, then click next, they will have a stopping point where a little button, they have to physically click. They don't have to physically click next. But if they clicked anywhere on the screen, it would do it. But the idea is they go through the motions of doing it, and then they can leave your tutorial and go into and do it themselves.
Yeah, I remember that because they have to actually kind of mimic doing it. So it's kind of like an interactive tutorial. Yeah, which is cool. The issue with iorad, this is not a big problem, but the free version, everything you make is public on the free version. So if you want it to be private and only have it go to the people you want it to go to, then you have to be on a paid version. I do know that's an issue with it. Not a huge deal, but if you're showing something in your learning management system, that's going to be a problem because then you're potentially showing student names and things like that on there. You don't want that to be a public link. You want that to be a private link. You can't do that on the free version. You can only do that on the paid version. So that's an issue. But what made you guys switch to Scribe, or why do you like Scribe better?
We still use both. So at Fried, we do professional development in person, face to face, and we also have Fried online asynchronous courses. And so for the asynchronous courses, I think iorad is still used a lot and it's super helpful. Again, just because you get that I actually get a chance to kind of walk myself through the steps. For me personally, I just happen to like Scribe because it creates these great big images. And like I said, it has little just short, here are the steps, navigate to, click on the left-hand toolbar. Very, very short and quick. I noticed that a few people, I feel like I had to remind people over and over again, you're not actually doing it. So I opened up one of my Scribes to find one. So I did one on how do you upload documents from Google Drive directly into Canva. Okay. If I had done that in iorad and put it in a training, somebody's going to click on the iorad and then they're like, my document's not in there. Well, you didn't actually do it. You were just going through the steps. And so I found myself saying, no, that's just a practice one. So now go do those same steps in your own account. So.
This isn't my document. I know it's my document.
And it's not in your drive. Okay. All right. It's okay.
All righty. Okay.
It happens.
Nice. I think that it's good to mention that it doesn't really matter which one you use between the two of them. It's which one addresses your goal better. Somebody's got to get in there, experiment with them, and decide which one's a better fit for you and the audience that you're sending this out to and the format that's going to work best for them. But I think they're both really great options because, like I said, with my GIF recording earlier, both of them take out that 45-minute editing time. It's literally just you perform the task and then the tool makes it into a tutorial for you. It's not going to replace things like you guys at Fried have some great like screencasts and things like that, and videos on your YouTube channel and things like that, or that go into courses and things like that. It's not going to replace those because those are like professionally made. This is for your like really quick, like I'm not trying to get YouTube famous on this. I'm trying to just tell my colleagues how to do this thing. Right.
We call it, we tend to call things by food names, but it's those little nuggets, just a little bite-sized nugget to the folks, right? Just really quick, clear, right to the point. If you need a little bit more, then, come on over. We have more. We can do it, we can dig in.
Yeah.
We can get a chicken sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
We just need a chicken nugget.
Okay. I want to go to Chick-fil-A and get nuggets and a sandwich. I actually want both because they're just different somehow.
Yeah.
What's your preferred dipping sauce for your nuggets?
At Chick-fil-A, I need the sweet and spicy sriracha.
Yes.
The Chick-fil-A sauce, because I do a little mixture of the both.
Ooh,
and I do barbecue sauce for my fries.
Oh, okay. I did not know that was going to be such an interesting answer. A little aside. Yeah, I think it depends on where I'm at. Like my kids are really into Cane's. Cane's is okay. I think the Cane sauce is pretty good.
I think the Cane sauce is what sells Cane's.
That's what sells Cane's. Okay,
that's about it. And I love a good crinkle fry.
They do have good crinkle fries. Yeah. Otherwise, I go ranch normally. Honey mustard's okay in a pinch. I'm really going deep on this. If I'm at Zaxby's, I think I probably want maybe buffalo.
See, and I don't have a Zaxby's close by me, and so I've only tried it once. I'm a ranch girl too, but not for my chicken, not for my nuggets, not for my nugs. McDonald's old school, just to throw it out there, because a few months ago, I don't go to McDonald's that often. I go every now and then, and I said, you know what? I think I want some nuggets. I just want to be like a little kid. Give me a Happy Meal, and I asked for my hot mustard.
Yes,
and they said, oh, we don't sell that anymore.
No, they don't.
This was this one location. I was heartbroken. So then I didn't go back. And so I just recently went this week and I said, and again, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll do barbecue sauce. I said, what other sauces do you have? And he started to listen and I said, hot mustard. So I don't know if it's back, but they still have it.
Hot mustard is the one there. I also don't typically go to McDonald's, but if I was getting some nuggets at McDonald's, hot mustard for sure.
Has to be.
That'd be the way to go. But yeah, I've actually got a bottle of the sweet and spicy sriracha Chick-fil-A sauce upstairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, like I say, I can't have too much. Again, I told you, I just had a birthday. It's hitting me kind of hard. So I can't have too much of the spicy. I heard you asked, like, do I do them at the same time? So I don't like swirl them together, but I just want a little bit of the spicy, sweet and spicy, and then I'll get my Chick-fil-A sauce.
Okay.
We did dig in here. Like you said, we did go deep.
We sure did.
This is important information. If you ever want to take either of us to Chick-fil-A, you have to know what we're going to need.
Jake and Courtney need these sauces. They're going to know exactly what to order for us. I can't wait for somebody to take us to Chick-fil-A.
There we go. This is happening.
Then we're going to realize it's Sunday and we get Chick-fil-A. No, we got to go somewhere else. We got to go to McDonald's. They better have hot mustard sauce. Okay, so if we're making nuggets of technology wisdom, we're either using Scribe or we're using iorad. Any other options you'd throw in there?
I would, of course, you can't go wrong with just a little quick, like, we'll say TikTok style video. And so for those, I probably would lean towards like either Canva or Adobe Express video. I have the apps on my phone. And of course, like we mentioned, doing a quick little screencast, which is just going to take a little more time on your end to create it. But so making a little short video, but using kind of one of those tools, Canva, Adobe Express video, or like a Loom or a Screencastify to make it happen. But shortening it down. I think what it is, I joke that the longer you teach, the more you get to be like the students. Yeah. And so it has to be short. Yeah. I think about my husband was out of town and we needed the light. I don't know what it's called. The little light came on. It was time to officially switch the filter in the refrigerator. Okay. And I was like, I can do this. So I went to YouTube. I'm searching for videos. And the first one I found with my, refrigerator type and everything was 10 minutes long. Nope. I do not need, it will not take me 10 minutes to be a refrigeration repair woman. Absolutely not. Let me find me a 2-minute video.
3 minutes max.
Like, I can do this. So yeah, I just think, I think we all have, those shorter attention spans. So it's got to be something, like you said, a little 30-second, 1-minute clip that'll walk people through.
So I think if you're doing it in something like Screencastify or Loom, that if you're in the free version, you don't really have an editor option. Like if you're in paid versions, in Loom, you might have do you know? In Loom, if you're
I don't remember in Loom. You used to, because Loom had the education version that. Yeah. So I think so. I think you're good in Loom.
Yeah. So somebody hit us up and let us know. You got to tell us what's your favorite sauce for nuggets, and can you edit videos in the free version for teachers of Loom? But if you can't, my point was, if you can't edit it, that means you got to practice first, right? You've got to essentially run the screencast without pressing record 2 or 3 times to get it really. You get yourself really fine-tuned in there so you could be quick, and then you could record it, right? And that's how you make a quick one.
That's how you used to have to do it.
Yeah.
And so, but now my version, because the other side of this too, especially talking to teachers and wanting them to be comfortable, it doesn't have to be a production. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, your students would rather see you and hear your voice than, because you think like, oh my gosh, I sound so weird. I look weird. I clicked. That part doesn't matter. They relate more when they see you versus, even if you found a great little tutorial on YouTube, they relate more to you. But it doesn't have to be a production. So we have to get out of our heads. So what I do now is I'll take one of those screencasting tools, but I don't record the voice. Okay. So I just go ahead and record the screen, record the clicks, and then that's where, so it's, you kind of double up, and then that's where the Adobe Express video comes in.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go drop that. You're using Adobe Express. Where are you recording first?
I will record, if I use Screencastify or Loom, I'm recording my tutorial on how do you resize a Google slide. Okay. So I'm going to just open up my Google slide, open up Screencastify, hit record. I'm going to record myself going through the steps, export my video, and then drop it over into Adobe Express. Because Adobe Express now's got a record your voice with your camera if you want it. But then I have the editor piece in there, so I can go and I click something wrong, boop, cut it out. Yeah. So
that's a good tip. A good pro tip there. So if you're using Canva or Adobe Express, because they're such similar tools, you're most likely recording somewhere else, or is that just one of the ways you approach
Just
that?
One of the ways, especially if I need the screencast piece, then I will record somewhere else and then drop it over there. Yeah. If I'm recording and just kind of walking through some steps, or if I'm using like a slide deck or something I've created and just kind of walking through the steps, I'll do it right there start with the program.
Right. Yeah, right there in the program. It's crazy how many options we have nowadays. Nowadays,
so many.
Yeah. I remember back in the day, like early on in the days of this podcast, for example, talking about screencasting, and it was like, well, you could use this one, or this one. That's it. And I could even say, like, if you have this kind of computer, use this. If you have this browser, use this. But nowadays, it's just like, there's so many things. It's like, use what you like, which is great. The choice is good.
And the other thing I just thought about that I meant to mention too, even just your phone. Yeah. Like, again, you're not trying to be a YouTuber. So I told you I was an English teacher, but I also got out for a little while and I was a CTE teacher.
Oh, okay.
So I was we were in a computer lab. I had 30 kids in the classroom and most of our things were kind of like projects that they were doing on the computers. And so even though we did the same things over and over again, how do I turn this in on Canvas? How do I do? So what I wanted to do was make little short videos, throw them into a place where they could always go and get those. We call it cloning yourself, right? So instead of me having to say it 30 times, I just made a video. Go watch me over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to be sitting at my desk. You can, these little cell phones that we have, right? One of my, if you will, my YouTube moments, my TikTok moments, one of my most viewed TikToks is a style where I just held my phone up and recorded myself, clicking. And then I did a little bit of editing, inside of TikTok. But then, boop, there we go.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, so I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and it's hard to get over that. Do. But the thing we have to keep in mind is anytime with technology is like, what's your actual goal? And if your actual goal is just to explain how to turn in that project on Canvas, you don't need a perfectly edited video. You just need it to be short enough that they could watch it quickly so they don't tune out. Your goal is to get through the steps and have it be set up so that the kids or whoever your audience is will actually watch it, right? So it can't be 10 minutes because they're not going to watch it for 10 minutes, to your point, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It could just be holding your phone up in front of your computer while you click on stuff. As long as it's short and clear and concise and effective, it doesn't matter how perfect it is. And to your point,
you don't have to be fancy. You just have to be helpful.
Don't have to be fancy. What if we want to be fancy and helpful, though?
You can. Okay, there are times for it. There are times.
I'm just a little bougie, okay? I just want to be fancy sometimes.
That's when you get. That's when you get to go play with like CapCut and add in some fun little fonts and things like that. And sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say. I'm so sorry.
No, that's good. I love it. That's a good point. But I think, we have to remember, it doesn't unless you want it to be perfect for some reason. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be effective. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
All that. Well, this is a lot of great wisdom. So, so we could use Scribe or iorad, which are going to kind of auto-magically turn it into something for our audience or our viewers or our students to look at. We could use a thing like Screencastify or Loom and record there and share straight from there, which is super nice. We could hold our phone up and record directly from our phone, maybe edit that video, maybe not, maybe just drop it in Google Drive and send it out from there. We could make them in Canva or Adobe Express, either with a video we recorded elsewhere and then add some stuff too, or depending on what we're trying to do, we could just record it through their tools. That's a lot of options we've just given people.
Plenty of options. Yeah. And then the how do you share it?
Right.
That's my thing. And so like we said, yes, I can throw it in an email, but I was all about housing it in one good place. So if you have an LMS, here's the how-to page. I used to use Wakelet.
Yep.
I used one link. Yep. And then one of my favorites that I miss it so very much, I was a Potty PD girl. And it's not gross, I promise. We had sheet protectors and things like that. But that was another way to get out that bite-sized little tip because for lack of a better description, you had a captive audience.
Yep.
They were, and I always tell people, if you've ever been to a restaurant and they have like that calendar on the back of the door, and if people are like, "Oh yeah," I was like, "See, it works."
So, when the Beatles cover band is playing at that restaurant,
yes. So you're like, "Oh, we have to come back in 2 weeks." So that was another, but that's the same way. So I would make these little short videos. We had, like at my old district, we were a Canvas district. So we had a Canvas campus page, but we had a page where everybody knew they could go back. But if they had seen something on Potty PD, there might be a little bit longer, fancier version if they went into the Canvas page. Whereas I just maybe gave the steps on the little Potty PD.
Yeah. I wonder too, like the first two tools, iorad and Scribe, you probably could print those and even just hang those up in the stalls, the bathroom stalls, while people are stalling.
Yeah, like, and there's Copier or Potty PD where teachers tend to hang. One of those places. So you can do copy. If you feel a little bit better, you can always do Copier PD.
Feel awkward about the Potty PD or learning on the loo. I've heard
learning on the loo. Yeah, who is it? I think it was Kathy. I always mess up her last name, so I call her Kathy K.
Kathy K. Yeah, Krasnowski. I've never pronounced it in front of her face for her to tell me it's wrong. So I'm guessing it's Krasnowski.
yeah. I think she was the one that kind of got that going. But I used to love it. It was. I'll say this: be careful with your Potty PD. Again, I mentioned I'm an only child, maybe, but so I tend to use myself as examples with like pictures and things.
Okay.
And so when I first was showing remove.bg, so you can tell this was a while ago, I used a picture of me sitting on a couch, and I went and got the actor Idris Elba, who's gorgeous, and I removed the background so he could be sitting on the couch next to me. And a coworker was like, "Hey, Courtney, it's a little bit awkward handling my business." And I look over and I see your face. I said, "I didn't think about that. I apologize. I'm so sorry."
Listen, I could see a screenshot of Canva while I'm in the bathroom. That's fine. But if my colleague's face is there, that's going to bother me.
It's a little bit too much. I said, okay, noted.
Noted. I will no longer put pictures of myself in the bathroom stalls.
So funny. Yep.
Idris Elba, okay, fine. Yeah. He could be there, but you can't, Courtney.
Yeah, I don't know him in person, so yeah.
He's not silently judging me. I'm in the bathroom. These are some great tips, Courtney. Thanks for all of this. So I love that we've got a lot of different angles we could take this approach depending on what we think is going to work best with our staff and what works best for us to create the content. And I think now you've taught us that we all need to go check out your TikTok to see the videos that you're posting there to see some of these samples. So folks, the link to Courtney's TikTok is in the show notes, as are all of her other social media links. You can hit her up on there and ask for pictures of her dog, Louis V. I think we're all going to
gladly share.
Going to have to be posted. So reach out to her on there. But thank you so much for being on today, Courtney. This was great.
Well, thank you for having me. Again, I was trying not to say super excited, but
super excited.
It was fun.
It was super exciting. Thanks for being with us. I had a great time having Courtney on the show. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. She had so much wisdom to share. I did not know anything about Scribe, to be honest, and very little about iorad, and she taught me more about both, and her ideas about using some of the other tools like Adobe Express and Canva, really awesome as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. I hope that you're going to go follow her. But before you follow yourself out of this episode, that was a weird pun there, Jake, let's get into some EdTech updates and news. First up, let's talk about something that I haven't heard anyone talking about. Actually, I hear no one mentioning this, so I figured I should put it out into the universe. There are 2 premium applications of NotebookLM that came out recently. So we all know NotebookLM, the tool from Google that lets you upload your own materials. Think research papers, standards, slide decks, YouTube links, textbook chapters, articles off the internet, and turn them into eerily realistic podcast episodes. It's amazing. Most folks actually don't realize it, but you could ask it questions, you can get summaries, you can even generate things like study guides or discussion questions there in NotebookLM. Most people are just using it for the podcast. Understandable, because it's amazing, but it has these other features too. And I don't know if you're aware, but there's now even an interaction option with the podcast where you can enter into the podcast and talk to the hosts. I'm using air quotes here because you are, I guess, talking, but you're not talking to actual people, but it sure does feel like it. If you haven't tried it, you should try it. And the best part, everything comes with inline citations, so you're not just taking AI's word for it. It's actually saying, this is where in the resources you gave me this information came from. That grounding in your own sources makes a huge difference for educators. And I often use that podcast feature. I take a bunch of dry prep materials that I need to go through for an upcoming meeting or presentation or something, and I turn it into a podcast-style audio overview that I can listen to in the car. I just upload it to Google Drive and play it from the Google Drive app, and that helps me kind of go through that information in those passive times while I'm driving or something like that. It really is like a self-made PD session on my commute based on something very specific that I need to think about. But here's the new pieces. First, Google's Gemini tools, which include NotebookLM, are starting to integrate directly into LMS platforms through something called Gemini LTI. That's an acronym. I forget what it stands for. You don't need to know what it stands for. But Google's Gemini LTI, so far, it means that Canvas and Schoology, I'm supposed to say their full names, Canvas by Infrastructure, and I forget what I'm supposed to say with Schoology. I'm just going to call them Canvas and Schoology, okay? But imagine in Canvas and Schoology, your students being able to interact with AI-generated content grounded in your course materials inside the LMS that they're already using. So I don't have to leave the LMS to get to it. That could be really powerful. Now, it's unclear to me if all Canvas and Schoology users have this, or only folks on certain Canvas and Schoology plans, or only folks on Canvas or Schoology that also have a certain paid level of Google for Education plan. So it's possible that not all of you have this. I'm not sure. If you do have it, or maybe if you're a Canvas or Schoology user and a Google for Education user and you don't have it, I'd love to hear that too. Either way, so that I know who has it, who doesn't. And if you do have it, I'd love to hear about how it's working for you. Now, the other premium feature from NotebookLM is NotebookLM Plus. It's a new premium version of NotebookLM. Obviously, it costs you some money. It gives you higher usage limits. Yes, that's nice. We could do more things more often. Right now, you're capped to how many you can make a day. I think it's 2. But this also gives you analytics, sharing features, and more customization. So if you're a professor, let's say at a college, you can upload your course materials and give your students their own personalized AI guide. If you're in IT, you could build out a knowledge base for your whole institution to reflect back on and listen to and interact with. That flexibility and scale could be a game changer for higher ed and large K-12 districts, or small ones too. I think the sharing and customization, those are what's big for me, at least for myself and my role. If it allows me to modify parts of the podcast that it auto-generates and then share a link to it for others to access it, because currently you have to download it and upload the drive or something like that. If it allows me to share that link for people to access it, that is awesome. So I'm curious, have you tried either of these premium options with NotebookLM? If you have, I'd love to hear how it's going. Hit me up at speakpipe.com/EduDuctTape with a voice message for the show, or post it on social media with hashtag EduDuctTape. All right, here's a quick one, but super helpful if you're a Padlet user, especially on the free plan. So Padlet recently added a clear posts option. It does exactly what it sounds like. It wipes all the posts from a Padlet board so you can reuse it without having to delete it and recreate the whole thing. This is clutch if you're on the free version and you've hit that cap on the number of Padlets you're allowed to have on the free plan. So you could start it from scratch, get rid of all the posts on it, reuse it. It doesn't count as a new board. It's the same board. It's just free and clear of all of the content that used to be on it. So use it with your first period class, hit the clear post button, use it with your second period class, one Padlet, use twice, and the information doesn't repeat throughout it. Now, here's the catch. First of all, it's only available for the board creators or for admins to Padlet plans. And once you hit that clear button, there's no going back. So you clear it. You can't undo that. Actually, you have to type in a little code to do it just to confirm that you really mean it. So those posts are gone for good. So definitely use this feature with caution. Now, here's a pro tip. If you want to be extra safe and you want a record of that board before you clear it, there's an option in Padlet to export a Padlet board as a PDF. So I would recommend exporting as a PDF first. That way you have a record of everything that was said on that board. A nice way to archive it, and then hit that clear post button to get rid of all of it. To find the option to do it, open your Padlet, hit the 3-dot menu, and choose Clear Posts. You'll be asked to enter a verification number, as I mentioned, just to make sure that you really mean it. One note I should point out, this feature isn't available, at least yet, on Padlet sandboxes. So it's available on all Padlet boards, but not on Padlet sandboxes. So if you're in a Padlet sandbox, I guess you'll have to clear those elements manually, piece by piece. But any other Padlet board, click that Clear Post button. So have you tried it? Have you used this to reset a board to avoid going over your free Padlet plan limit? If you have, let me know if it's working for you. Here's an update that might fly under the radar, but I think it's special to highlight because it's great for accessibility and literacy and just better student support across the board. BookCreator now supports text-to-speech in edit mode and in PDFs. Now, some of you are probably thinking, Jake, didn't it already have text-to-speech? Well, you're not wrong. It did have text-to-speech, and it does. But until now, it only worked in read mode. So when you're reading the book, but not when you're writing the book. So in that mode, it read the entire book aloud. That was super helpful, sure, but not very flexible. And it's not everywhere that the kids could use that reading support. This new update lets students listen to individual text boxes, shapes with text in them, and even imported PDFs, all while they're still in edit mode. They just click a little speaker icon under the element, and it reads that section out loud with word highlighting as it goes. And that shift from full book playback in read mode to selective in the moment read aloud, even when editing, I think is a game changer, especially when we consider kids using it to proofread their own writing. So they write it and then they have it play it back for them right then and there so they could hear it before they're done with everything. Think about your multilingual learners trying to decode a set of instructions, or a student with dyslexia reviewing a paragraph they just wrote, or even just a middle schooler who insists that their paragraph is perfect until they hear it. That read aloud moment often reveals things that their eyes missed. And it's available to all users, which is great. Now, one part is only available for premium users, and that's using text-to-speech inside of PDFs. So you can upload PDFs into your books and have them read aloud if you're on the premium plan. If you're not on the premium plan, the PDFs can be in there, they just won't be read aloud. Students on premium plans can use the scan for text feature to make that happen, then have the document read to them directly inside of the project. So yes, digital worksheets, textbook pages, articles just became way more accessible inside BookCreator too. Also, this is scaffolding that can scale down as needed. So teachers can turn the feature off when it's no longer necessary. I would not recommend doing that. I'm a universal design for learning guy. I think if it's best for some, it's best to have there available for all. But if you prefer to have text-to-speech off, it is an option to turn it off. And there are also settings to adjust voice and speed for how it's read as well. And one last thing, if you're already using speech to text in BookCreator, so speaking into it and having it type for you, this closes that loop because students can now dictate their ideas into the book and then listen back to self-check and revise. That kind of feedback cycle builds both confidence and independence in our learners as writers. So, have you tried the new text-to-speech feature in edit mode yet? Is it making a difference in how your students read or write? I'd love to hear your take. Okay, that does it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for everything you do for your learners. Thank you for still showing up and tuning into the show in early summer when a lot of folks are just checked out, and that's fine. Relax, enjoy your summer, take a break, but you are extra dedicated in listening. I appreciate that. For the folks that take the summer off and turn off their education brains, I respect that too, and I'm happy for them that they're doing that. But I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you continue to do so. I hope you're subscribed to the show so that you don't miss an episode, because I plan to be back in your earbuds next week. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Please consider rating and reviewing the show on your favorite podcast app. #EduDuctTape.